In this week's GTA 5 O'Clock, we find over 200 hidden details in the 3 most recent trailers, discover even more about the game's key heists, nail down Michael, Franklin and Trevor's stories, plus, have we discovered new gangs and new mini-games? It's the only dedicated GTA 5 show in town. It's this week's massive GTA 5 O'Clock. Hi, welcome to this week's GTA 5 O'Clock. Hope you're well out there. My name's Tim Weaver. I'm here with James Jarvis, our producer on GTA 5. As people might know who listen to the show regularly, Dan, our regular contributor and expert, is away having a baby. So in the meantime, James and I are going to take up the mantle and power on. And this week we've got a really special show for you. First of all, I must just say thank you to everyone who's tuned in over the last couple of weeks, all the people who have subscribed to the channel. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. Some of the comments were quite aggressive, but some of the other ones were absolutely lovely, and we will definitely get around to answering some of those questions in next week's show. Please do follow us on Twitter at GTAVOclock. And this week we've kind of bitten off more than we can chew. We decided to take all 3 trailers and break them down and go into really, really massive detail about the things people maybe didn't see or didn't spot the first time round, and it's turned into a bit of a mammoth job. So what we've done is we've split the trailers down into 3 parts, one on Michael's trailer, one on Franklin's trailer, and one on Trevor's trailer, and we'll be running them over the course of the next 3 days. So at 5 o'clock today, Wednesday, you'll be able to enjoy Michael's trailer. Tomorrow, Thursday, you'll be able to enjoy Franklin's trailer at 5 o'clock. And then 5 o'clock Friday, it will be Trevor's. I hope that's clear. If not, I'm not sure what to say, really. So we'll just power on with Michael's trailer. Come on then, James, let's get into it.
What do you want, Michael?
So, as the trailer begins, James, we can see we're in Vespucci Beach.
Yeah.
I just one thing I spotted straight away was, you see the guy on the park bench here?
Yeah.
Okay, he looks pretty pensive. It's not too dissimilar, that park bench, to the park bench we saw in trailer 2, where Michael's sitting on it, and Franklin and Lamar come up to him and sort of start talking to him. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that it's the same bench. But I do think that it is indicative of the fact that the trailer 2 and this one are obviously, that portion of trailer 2 and this opener to the Michael trailer suggests that we're in the same sort of area here.
Yeah. I think that's totally the right thing to say. You can see other benches lined up along the sidewalk as well, so
yeah,
it looks like it's going to be in the same area.
Yeah, this is based on having done a little bit of research. This area, this is our second point. This whole area is based on a sort of unseen part of Vespucci Beach, when we haven't glimpsed so far. We've seen the sort of Muscle Sands gym and the sidewalk market and that kind of end of Vespucci Beach. But this end, I think, is based on Oceanfront Walk, which is kind of like the road that goes all the way through Venice, in real life Venice Beach. I think this is further down. I think this is towards the sort of eastern end of Oceanfront Walk, because there are a lot more houses there, whereas it doesn't look like there's a lot of businesses in this opener here. So that suggests to me, at least, that this is at a slightly more eastern end of the road. Point 3, joggers. We can see a guy here. We can see a lady just in front. Does this suggest because we know you can go running, or you can do a triathlon, in fact, and we see a guy on a bike there. Is this how you access the triathlon? What do you think, James?
Well, you think by training. You think that could be a thing that you have to sort of
I don't know whether
build your stats up?
Well, I don't know whether this is the triathlon. This is like the in-game triathlon, and the triathlon is just biking, running and swimming, you know, or whether there's like an actual competitive triathlon that you can enter.
Yeah.
If I had to take a guess, I would say that maybe there is a competitive triathlon that you can enter and win money from.
You would have thought it'd be like a timed thing where you're like constantly going back, going, oh, I might try and do swimming a bit better this time, and you know, trying to constantly improve your time.
Yeah, I think it's likely that you'll be able to earn money from it, because the whole game's based around money. You know, it's about accruing money and about being able to spend that money.
Yeah.
So it would make sense. How you fit swimming into this, I don't know. Whether it's like a swim in the sea or
Yeah, that would make sense if it was swimming in the sea, I guess. Yeah, that's normally how they do it.
But you can see he's on the bike. You can see joggers. So I think it's a fair bet to assume this is all part of the kind of triathlon mini game. Stat building comes into it as well.
Yeah.
We talked in last week's show how each character is broken down into a series of stats, and I'm sure that through triathlon and through some of the other mini games as well, you'll be able to build up those stats and improve your character.
Yeah, you think the more swimming you do, the bigger your lung capacity, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, lung capacity was one of the skill categories that you were rated on. So yeah, absolutely, I think you're completely right. And then finally, in this first frame, the bike itself. It says Whip It on there. Whip It. I did a bit of research on this, James, and I couldn't find anything else other than Whip It being an express coach company in Vice City,
right?
That also makes an appearance in Liberty City too. Is that a coincidence, or have Whip It branched out into bikes? I don't know. Is the honest
we're not
answer.
sure. I think some of our bike friends, colleagues from upstairs, actually were quite interested in the bike. I think Whip It might also be a brand from real life.
Oh.
That they think the frame might be based on, like a Whip It frame. They're also very impressed by the guys' sandals. Apparently they're proper like racing flip-floppy type things that you can buy as well.
Oh, that's interesting. What? So Whip It isn't actual real world brand?
I think that's what they were saying.
That seems unusual for GTA to incorporate. That must surely be coincidence.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Because GTA is all about their made-up brands.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it's rifting off, but you'd imagine it's something.
Yeah, I don't know enough about mountain bikes.
If we're wrong
bikes
or anything, correct us in the
comments.
comments.
Please do say if you know anything about bikes and mountain bikes and racing bikes, and do say so in the comments. Unfortunately, that's a bit of an area of non-expertise for me.
I don't know.
So next frame, James, is
Mr. Therapist, Michael's therapist,
who Dan lovingly refers to as Billy Crystal. Personally, don't see the resemblance too much there, but Dan definitely has a thing for Billy Crystal. What have we got to say about him?
Well, we don't know much about him. The only other therapist we know from sort of GTA folklore is Mr. White from The Lost and the Damned.
Yeah.
Who was a shrink for Congressman Thomas Stubbs.
Yeah.
But apart from that,
I don't think it's the same guy. I think this is an all new guy.
Yeah, which would make sense, just to bring in
absolutely.
some new characters and stuff.
Sorry, James. I was just going to say it's interesting that at the end of this trailer he's sort of saying, "Oh, I think you need a new therapist." I wonder whether that's just a throwaway line or whether he literally does in the end say to Michael,
I've had enough of you. You've done too much crime.
Yeah, I also wonder what role the sort of therapy sessions play in the game. I mean, whether it's just like all part of the sort of cut, whether it's through a cut scene or whether you actually kind of sit there and have a conversation with him. How is that conversation structured? How do you take part in that conversation? I don't know. I suggest it's probably more for like a sense of building up who Michael is.
Yeah, or sort of, it could even be a way of sort of relaying the missions back to you. Like he goes, "Have you done anything bad recently?" And he goes, "There was this security truck that
that's a good
I sort of blew up by accident."
Yeah, sort of Tony Soprano style.
Yeah.
He
could do that, or as you say, it could. I mean, we don't know how much part therapists are going to play in it at all. Really.
No. Okay, next frame. Michael standing there, reasoning with his shrink. There's only a couple of things here. I did spot in the trailer that in the background, on the table just outside, there's a cup, and it says "I love," and I think it says VE something. So I don't know whether it's Vespucci. It'd be nice if it was VC and a little nod to the Vice City.
Yeah.
But see, people out there, see if you've got better eyesight, or you can zoom in and have a look for yourself. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say it'd be Vespucci, but my heart hopes it's VC. Can we see anything else said, James?
No, I think the only other bit is the location. That looks like we can see some sand in the shot as well. So we're thinking it's back down on the beach.
Yeah.
Maybe the Del Piero area. possibly.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that scene that we referenced earlier in trailer 2, where Michael's waiting around on a bench in the sort of Vespucci Beach area. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that would come before or after a therapy session.
Yeah,
and his therapist lives in one of those places in that sort of first frame of this trailer. Because if you go back to that first frame and have a look, those you can see like balconies on the houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And we can see in this frame of Michael that there's also a balcony looking out over the beach. So I think it's all kind of interlinked, and so I think that's why he's got sand and why he's sitting there on a bench in that trailer too.
Then it isn't this.
So next frame, James, we've got a Sentinel coming up the drive.
Yeah, a convertible one. Interestingly, and we'll see this a few times in this trailer, that the number plates on some of the vehicles change depending on what scene we're looking at them in.
Yeah, I think this one is a deliberate change, and as we'll get onto later in Michael's trailer, I think the other ones are perhaps not so deliberate, or maybe even a mistake, or not a mistake, but an oversight perhaps. The reason I think this is deliberate is because on this one you can see the number plate reads 28PUP842, whereas later on in the trailer it just reads Crystal with a 4 in it.
Yeah.
We'll show you that later on, but I think that seems like a very deliberate change.
Yeah, and they're quite sort of in frame. You don't really have to. This one's on screen for quite a long time as the car goes up the drive, as is the one when it's got Crystal written in it. So Rockstar are going to expect people to really like dissect these trailers. So if they wanted them to match, you'd think that they would make them match.
Yeah, I mean, what does Crystal relate to? Well, maybe we can speculate that later on down the line, but certainly at this stage of the trailer, and presumably at this stage in the story, Michael is still kind of living that sort of bored rich man's life at home, and perhaps hasn't taken on the kind of life of crime yet, because I can't help but think that the change in number plate then reflects this sort of change in mind. Just a tiny thing, the next thing is he's coming up the drive here. You can kind of see the house in front of him, and you get a real sense, I think, gradually through the trailers of how his house is kind of laid out.
Yeah.
If you look at that archway on the right hand side, if you go through that archway, you'll get to the tennis court, which is kind of just off to the right a little bit more. And so, yeah, you're getting a real sense from every angle of this sort of... It's almost like a sort of Spanish kind of villa that Michael and his lovely wife, Amanda, and his kids live in.
Now, we can see that big skyscraper in the background, but we're not quite sure which one that is. We don't think it's the Mile High Club.
No,
Even though there's a crane there, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's the right height or anything like that.
I'm sure that we'll get corrected on this if people out there feel that it is the Mile High Club. I've looked through all the trailers and I've looked through the screenshots, and the sort of window configuration doesn't look exactly the same. I don't know. Having said that, you can see that the sort of cream structures on the building here don't go all the way across, and it looks a bit like it's being constructed. So, having said that, it could actually be the Mile High Club, and certainly the Mile High Club skyscraper is the building that's become almost synonymous with every trailer. You glimpse it in every trailer. It's always being built. So I'm not sure is the honest answer. It just looks a lot smaller here than it sort of has in other trailers. It's looked really massive in the other trailers. So I don't know whether it's like hidden out of sight, hidden behind this one, or hidden somewhere else. I mean, there is a crane there, which suggests it's being constructed. So
I think there are, in fact, 2 cranes.
Yeah,
you can see.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
there is another shot of that people might remember of Trevor piloting a massive like jumbo sort of, not jumbo jet, but like a sort of cargo plane, and then there's the Mile High Club being constructed in the background there, and right down at the bottom, at the base of where the Mile High Club is, there's smaller cranes at the bottom. Now it could be that those are smaller cranes, building something else or something nearby, and that could be these smaller cranes here. So what I think it probably is the Mile High Club, but I think there's enough doubt to suggest that maybe it could be another building. Oh, sorry, there was one more. Sorry, on the last frame. I just might get my paperwork mapped up here. As he's driving up the drive, it's just a small thing, but you can see the dynamic lighting in the car. You can see like the shadows kind of moving, and you can see the sun blob in the car moving as he goes through. It's just a nice touch. It sort of brings the world alive. You know, in the sort of couple of weeks since we've seen the game, I've read a few other previews apart from the one that I wrote, and obviously, you know, we've discussed with Dan about what we saw, and a few people have been a bit down on how GTA looked. I thought it looked really, really good. I mean, considering the scale of its ambition, I think it, you know, like visually, I thought it looked really, really terrific. So I personally don't have any worries about how it looks at all, and I think that stuff like that, you know, cheeky little bit of dynamic lighting and stuff, all brings it alive.
Right, now moving on to Michael having a drink. What we've seen, he's having a drink with his left hand. So is Michael left-handed?
Will he fire guns left-handed? You know, does it even matter? I mean, maybe it's just a throwaway thing. Maybe it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Later on in the trailer, we also see him drink left-handed, and then we see him drink right-handed, James. So
right. Okay.
it might mean nothing, and maybe it's just a throwaway thing, or maybe it means that you can. I don't know. Maybe he's able to fire. As you develop better at shooting, you might be able to fire with both hands equally. Or maybe it means nothing, but it's worth pointing out.
You used to be able to like click in the right stick to change like over the shoulder views.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have on shooting, but it's a nice thing to point out.
Yeah. Here he is, living his domestic life that he hates. The only thing I really wanted to point out here, it's a very small thing. You know, last week we talked about how it's quite a nice kitchen. It's all, you know, set up. It's quite detailed, and that is that he's. You can see he's got a bottle of whiskey there. Trying to zero in on maybe what that brand is, because we know that in previous GTAs they've had Maclean's Scottish whiskey. I think I'm right in saying, James, in San Andreas, you couldn't. I think it was Maclean's was sort of dotted about houses in San Andreas, but you couldn't pick it up, or maybe you could pick it up and drink it. I can't quite remember. No, you couldn't drink it, but you might have been able to pick it up.
You could see it. It was around.
I can't quite remember, but you definitely couldn't drink it. So the only other whiskey brand I found was Jakey's, which was in GTA 4. So it could be either of those. I guess it raises the question: will you be able to drink?
Just get drunk,
for
like ages, and then stumble out onto the streets.
Yeah,
I mean, you could do that in bars and things. So and it impacted all your senses and stuff. So it wouldn't be a massive stretch to suggest that it's something you could do again. I don't know how often you can do it. If you can only do it in bars, maybe you can do it in your house this time. Yeah, just sit about in your pants.
Sit about in your pants, getting absolutely slammed.
I want to be a good dad.
Okay, here he is. The ultimate male fantasy. Jimmy sitting in his bedroom playing his games. There's quite a bit here actually. James, do you want to kick things off with the controller?
Yeah, it's obviously meant to resemble a Xbox, PlayStation thing, but it actually looks more like a big fat Dreamcast pad.
It does, yeah,
really.
yeah. There's that picture of him, the artwork of which we might be able to show on screen now, of him giving his sister the middle finger when he's playing on his console. Now the console in that picture, the controller, sorry, in that piece of artwork, and the controller here are completely different. This, like you say, looks much more like a Dreamcast pad. Looks really flat and big, whereas the controller in the artwork looks much more like an Xbox. Well, it looks pretty much exactly like an Xbox pad. So I don't know whether that's just a small oversight or whether there's lots of different consoles in this world, and and Jimmy owns them all.
That would make sense. He does seem to be a guy that would sit in his room owning all the consoles, playing everything all the time.
Yeah. Next thing, there's a poster to the left of the Los Santos Rock Radio, one, which I think we discussed last week, but obviously points towards there being, I think I'm right in saying that's the first GTA 5 music station that's been revealed, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the first one that's been right in the centre of, that it's definitely a confirmed thing now.
Yeah. Just to the left of it, the sort of reddy orange poster, I think that says Incursion in red above it, and underneath I'm pretty sure it says Anguished Cornhole.
Oh, what a band!
Which really is lovely. Which must be the name of a band, because if you look at the poster to the right of the lamp, next to the softly catchy mommy one, that also says Anguished Cornhole as well. So I'm assuming that's the name of a band. Whether we get to hear them on Los Santos rock radio, I don't know. But there's also on the bottom of Los Santos rock radio poster, you can see it says Sorry Commode, I think. Then that matches up with the blue one there, which also says Sorry. It says Sorry Com there, but you can see that it actually reads something Sorry Commode. It's got the silhouettes of 4 people on there, presumably, I guess, the 4 members of the band. I don't know enough about real world rock music to know whether that might even be a real band. I probably should have looked that up. But I doubt whether anyone would surely not come out as calling themselves Anguished Cornhole.
No, I don't think so. But it does point to the fact that these 2 bands obviously exist in the world of GTA 5. We already know there's a stadium.
Yeah.
You might be able to go and see them, or at least definitely hear them on the radio. I would have thought in some manner or another.
James, I'm going to let you do the next one, because you were the one that spotted it originally.
He's got a vanilla unicorn poster, which is a take on the real life Spearmint Rhino. It's also the name of the club in Franklin's trailer, which we'll get onto later on. And on his desk, he also has some tissues next to a vanilla unicorn pin-up
I wonder
poster.
what he'd need those for.
I'm not sure, but they're there just in case he needs them for emergencies.
Yeah,
I would have thought.
Computer screen, you can just see right at the edge of this frame here. Now, when we went up and saw the game a couple of weeks ago, we could see that you could get onto the internet via your phone. I think it's a safe bet to assume that you'll be able to get onto the internet via a computer as well. And presumably, via that computer, you'll also be able to get onto the same form of social media that you get onto via your phone. So I think, that's probably where Jimmy gets on and chats to his friends about games and whatever else. He
looks at pictures from the vanilla unicorn.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, we've already seen that the TW at cafes are back.
Yeah.
So they're going to be full of computers, so you'd think you'd be able to access them at home or in those internet cafes.
Yeah. One thing we'd also spotted, actually, just spooling back to the poster just above the blue Sorry Commode poster, you can see it says now available at pirate music stores. I don't know whether this is an actual physical record store that you can go into, or whether it's some sort of iTunes-alike thing that you access through your phone or computer. But it seems to suggest that you'll be able to buy music. Well, maybe it doesn't suggest that, but it suggests that that's how Jimmy in the world of GTA gets hold of his music.
Yeah. One last thing, I think, that we've got a sports jersey in this picture that Jimmy's wearing. Los Santos Slappers, we think it says, maybe?
Could be, yeah. Or there's a Los Santos Saints. Well, it's Los Santos Slappers play ice hockey.
Yeah.
And the Los Santos Saints play basketball and baseball, or basketball, baseball. I can't really understand my notes here. But anyway, it's one of them. It looks more like a basketball-y kind of top, does it? I don't know.
A bit.
Maybe
I mean, I would suggest he's not going to play whichever sport he's supporting anyway.
I think that's a fair bet to say that he won't be taking part in that anytime soon. Tracy out on the Raz with her friends. Dan and I talked a little bit about this in last week's show. but we'll just zero in on the detail here, James. First of all, I'll pick up this first one, which is that is that a bottle of Pisswasser that Tracy's holding there?
Yeah, I mean, it looks quite big, but I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, Pisswasser, I think, was had a sort of browny kind of colouring to it, doesn't it? And that's a brown bottle. So, yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say yes.
Okay. I don't know if we've picked up on this in the notes. I'm just checking. I'm not sure. The boat that they're on looks like it could be the boat from one of the screenshots that we saw last week, which is down by the pier. I think Dan might have pointed it out last week,
right,
but just in case.
Okay, I didn't pick that up.
There's a screenshot of a quite a big sort of party boat which is just leaving the shore around this area. So we think that this is the boat that they might be on.
Okay. We've got the old the girl with the headband there. Looks like she's on a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Could be an iFruit phone. I don't know whether GTA 5 is going to have multiple phone brands. I'd suggest probably not.
No.
So I think it'll probably almost certainly be an iFruit phone. You can see Del Perro Pier in the background, and you can see the funfair bit, Pleasure Land. We know in the game that you can take, not specifically this one, but we know you can take vehicles and customise them. And you can also buy property, including marinas.
Yeah.
So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that you might be able to take a boat and customise it, and you might be able to park it in a marina that you own.
Yeah, if you've got a boat, you want to be able to put it somewhere. So putting it in a marina you own would make sense, like having a garage for your car.
Yeah. I don't know whether you can go to the extent of building a jacuzzi onto your boat. I don't know. Rockstar didn't show us that sort of level of whether they didn't really talk about the customization at all, really, other than to say that it existed in the game and that you could take part in it. So I don't know whether you can buy things as elaborate as a jacuzzi, or whether it's, customizing vehicles is literally, we know cars is about changing the wheels, adding spoilers, changing the color of it and all that kind of stuff. But whether you can do the same with other vehicles is yet to be shown.
Right. The next point, if you look to the far right of this shot, through the smog, is that Los Santos International Airport? You can see a control tower, I think, in the very background.
That would make sense, because in real world LA, Santa Monica's really close to LAX, so I think that probably is almost certainly the airport. Mm-hmm. Just a small thing, James. Next thing is the American flag in the background. You can see it rippling kind of in real time as a sort of wind sort of rocks in. Imagine that times by 50 as the storms roll into Del Perro, and you can imagine how the wind and the rain and the thunderstorms might change the dynamics of an environment.
I think that happens in all of the things when we see flags and stuff. They're all moving all the time in the background and stuff. So it's really nice to see those little sort of extra environmental touches that are in it.
Yeah.
Love my family. Live the
The next scene, Amanda, Michael's wife, doing yoga. We know that yoga is a new mini game. To what extent, it is, what it involves, other than doing what she's doing, stretching. I don't know how it works really, because Rockstar didn't talk about it. But again, almost certainly it'll contribute towards your overall stats in the game. Presumably to strength and that kind of thing. But anyway, we can see her doing that there.
This is obviously in Michael's house. You can see the sun lounges in the background. It ties into that shot that we see in trailer 2 when Michael comes out with his whiskey and he's lying on the sun loungers. So that gives you a sense of where it is. We've got brand blue slippers.
Yeah, the blue slippers are Heat. That looks like it says Heat, which is a sort of established GTA brand. It also featured in San Andreas. The green sports drink we haven't been able to zero in on, so we're going to push this out to you guys, see if you know what it is. I went through all the GTA brands I've got on file, had a look at all the food and drink and the restaurants and stuff, and I haven't been able to find something that's like green writing on an orange sort of label. So yeah, I'm going to put this out to you guys, see if you can find it. But the blue slippers definitely are from one of GTA's sort of established clothing stores.
And finally, in this shot, we've got Amanda's T-shirt, which says something like, "Medication is the distribution of."
Yeah, we can read the rest.
Else.
It might not even be distribution. That's just what it looks like. Now, in real life, we know that Scientology isn't, which obviously is what the Epsilon program is based on, isn't massively keen on psychiatry. So I don't know whether this is like some sort of Epsilon program vest. Medication is a distribution of, sort of sounds like something Epsilon-y programish.
Does sound a bit like that. I imagine that would really annoy Michael as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it might also be a way that the sort of Epsilon program side of things is introduced to the game.
Yeah.
You know, maybe through Amanda, Michael meets the guy. What's his name? Is it Chris? The guy who runs the Epsilon program, and from there Michael flips out, or as his psychiatrist says, he really is addicted to chaos. So who knows what he's capable of? But I thought that was an interesting addition, and it might be nothing, but it might point to something larger. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you can see there's what looks like a portrait of Amanda on the wall. I don't know why you'd have a giant portrait of yourself in your own house.
I mean, you don't have one in your house, Tim?
I don't. No, I don't.
Oh.
I've never really thought it would. I didn't think it would go down too well with the Weaver family if I had a big portrait of myself. It certainly looks like Amanda anyway. It might possibly be someone else, but it looks like. On the right hand side, James, it looks like it goes through to the kitchen there. Yeah,
which we've seen before. I think we've just trying to get more of a idea of how the house is laid out. But yeah, that's the kitchen. And as an aside, you can see them here fighting over the TV remote.
Yes, you can. Yeah, and Michael seems to be taking a pretty aggressive approach to watching.
He
the
really
TV.
Likes his movies. He really needs to watch those heist films.
He really does. Yeah. Next one, here, as Tracy legs it away out of the room, you can see there's a photograph frame with a dog in it.
Yeah, and it is not Franklin's dog.
And it is not Chop, no. So, are we to speculate from this that Chop is not the only dog that you can own, you know, and by that I mean you as a player. You know, will Michael be able to have a dog of his own? Is there a dog running around the house here, or is it just simply there for show? I don't know.
I'd like to speculate that Michael has a dog.
I think it'd be yeah. I mean, Dan and I talked about this. I think on maybe last week's or the week before. But I think it'd be odd if they went to the trouble of programming in Chop and all the animation that requires and all the programming skill that requires, and then just do that one dog. It seems a bit unlikely. So I'm going to throw it out there and say that I think that you will be able to own a dog at some point. I mean, as Michael or Trevor.
It could always be like a dog from the past, like one they used to have, and it's still there. It's like, I remember when I used to have that dog, and now it's dead in the garden somewhere.
Could be. It could be. Yeah. I mean, there's always that possibility, but I do think that it seems a bit much of an effort to kind of go and program in Chop and then not make it available elsewhere.
Imagine if they all had a dog. What kind of dog is Trevor having?
Dog fight off. He'd have something like mad, wouldn't he? Like a werewolf. He'd have a werewolf. Just one tiny thing in this same frame, you can see. We haven't actually got it on screen here, but if you just edge it on a little bit, you can see that there's actually what looks like light shafts kind of coming through the window in the kitchen. Now, it's a small thing, but I thought it was quite a nice touch. It shows you how, what I was talking about earlier, when people, some critics have been a bit unkind about the way GTA looks. I think it looks really impressive, and stuff like that really adds to the kind of feel of it. One other tiny thing, James. There's a small tattoo on Tracy's neck, really small, but it's there, and it shows again that you can go and do that as any of the characters. You can go and add tattoos and that sort of thing. Okay, Michael settling down to have his whiskey.
Back on his sofa again. Tim, you've managed to spot all of the books he has on his bookshelf.
Yeah, well, Dan and I talked about this actually. I think last week. He's got Dada Naissance. He's got 2 books by called the one's definitely called the Montebank Gallery, and you can also see on the left hand side that he's got another Montebank book there. Now, Tony Montebank was the editor of On Liberty, which is the Liberty City tourist guide you got in GTA 4. So whether that's tied in, whether he's like also done a guide to Los Santos, I don't know. It would seem a weird. That's quite. They look quite posh coffee table books. They don't look like the sort of pamphlet-y kind of tourist guide you get normally. But GTA doesn't tend to like reuse character names without doing something with them. So I'd suggest that he's, maybe got some involvement in Los Santos as the city, whether it's through a gallery of, or whether it's through something else.
There's another one of his books just popping out on the bottom left as well, which I think you've spotted in your notes.
Yeah. So he's definitely got some involvement somewhere. Michael drinking left-handed again, James. Then Family Portrait, just on the shelf between the A and the Z.
Yeah.
If we lighten it, which I did, you can see that it looks like a really old man and a possibly old, possibly young woman. It's
one of the two.
It's one of the two. It's quite difficult to tell. I'm speculating that it might be the parents of either Michael or Amanda here. And later on in the trailer, you also see that it's got the exact same photograph somewhere else. We'll pick that up in a bit. Okay, so Michael's settling down to watch his Vinewood action movies, James.
Yeah, here he is. I think you can definitely see here the shaft of light coming through from somewhere.
Yeah.
In this shot. And yeah, this is where he'll sit down and watch his action films, and we assume where you'd watch the in-game TV with the adverts and that kind of stuff on it.
Yeah, I would think so. Whether this is the only TV screen in Michael's house, I don't know, because it's, like you say, it's a roll-down projector. But yeah, this will be where he watches it. They're just going back to that shafts of light thing. That looks very much like a front door there. But actually, if you just look to the right, the sort of far left of the screenshot, it looks like a sort of continuation of the kitchen, almost.
Yeah.
Which would make it the world's biggest kitchen, because the kitchen, as we know from the previous shot, started behind him, and now it's all the way around the side of the house. So I don't know whether that is the kitchen or whether it's like a living room, but it looks like it's got like a kitchen island in it.
It does. It definitely looks like, or some kind of breakfast area or breakfast bar or something. But maybe he just loves huge kitchens.
Maybe he does. Dan, before Dan went off on paternity, he wanted me to speculate that the photograph or picture on the wall that you can see there of the palm trees was some sort of link to Vice City. But I think that's really speculative, and I think he was only half joking anyway.
Well, he's going to be shouting at the screen now.
I think, to be fair to Dan, he was only sort of half joking, but yeah. So next one is Michael and Jimmy riding their bikes. We talked a bit about mountain bikes earlier. I think here they're having a race of some description. James, I wonder whether this is a actual... We talked a little bit about the triathlon in the same way, but I wonder whether this is an actual mini-game in action.
It could be, yeah. I mean, we've had it with previous GTAs where it's been like sort of cycled to this point in this time.
Yeah.
It could always be, beat Jimmy to the marker or something like that. Or, they are having possibly a conversation during this. It could just be a cutscene.
Yeah. Not much else to report in this screenshot. But the next one's quite interesting.
Why do I have to hold...
So the graffiti is based on the real life Venice Beach. Obviously, this is for Vespucci Beach. On the real life Venice Beach, you can they've got like set aside walls in certain areas of the place where artists can apply for a permit and then go and graffiti them. So this is why you've got graffiti all up the trees and all along the walls here. It's very sort of true to life there. It looks very much. Next thing, it looks very much like a sort of skate park there, James.
Yeah, I think just up the steps, you can see what could be a skate park with mini ramps and things like that. So there's always a possibility you can go skateboarding,
Yeah.
or rollerblading, or whatever you fancy.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely, obviously we've seen that you can use bikes and stuff, so presumably there'll be BMX bikes as well that you can go in there and use that.
And just in case you've missed Michael and Jimmy, they are there cycling through the middle of the shot.
Yeah, the reason why I wondered whether it was a mini game in action was because if you roll the trailer, it like Jimmy's sort of ahead, and then Michael sort of tries to get ahead of him. So I wondered whether that might be an actual mini game. Not much to report in this frame other than Jimmy's really lovely J on a chain there, which is really, really nice. James, you should get one of those, actually.
I was thinking about getting one, yeah. I'm not sure.
No.
If you do play the trailer in real time, though, you can see it sort of moving as he moves, which is really nice to see. That kind of, where it's not just stuck onto his t-shirt.
Yeah, there was another tiny thing actually in the last frame where, last but 2 frames, where Jimmy and Michael were racing along the thing. I forgot to mention, but when the woman in the bikini kind of steps back from them, you can, if you watch it in slow motion, watch how her feet plant on the ground. It's like super accurate. Just a tiny thing, but worth looking.
This whole midlife crisis.
We can see a hot dog stand just in the background here as well, somewhere where you're probably going to be able to go and buy food, I'd assume, to replenish your health.
Well, you
possibly.
could, yeah. I mean, you could do that in GTA 4, couldn't you? So it would make sense. Yeah. I don't know whether that's the best way of like conditioning your character though.
With hot dogs and whiskey.
I guess it depends how much how much emphasis Rockstar place on those sort of skill categories, because obviously we know that in San Andreas, if you had too much food, you got fattened right up.
That's true. And just, I think finally we can see the Ferris wheel going round in this shot as well when it's not paused, and I think you can see the entrance as well, so
yeah, you
possibly be able to go get in it.
Yeah, you can see where you can get onto the actual Ferris wheel, which suggests to me that you'll definitely be able to ride it. But I did keep a close eye on whether the roller coaster might be in full working order, but I didn't see it. But I'm assuming you'll be able to ride that as well. Okay, Amanda playing tennis. Yeah.
There she is, playing tennis.
There she is. We know it's a mini game. We know it's one of the mini games that Rockstar have announced.
Yeah.
We know that Amanda and Michael have got a tennis court in their back garden, so presumably you'll be able to literally come out of your house and practice as much as you want, whereas I guess the other mini games you'll probably go and have to search for them a little bit harder. But yeah, to who you play tennis against, I don't know. Whether you can sort of wander around, where Michael can wander around his house and say, look, come out, to Amanda, come out and play a game of tennis with me. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, at least it's local and it's quick. And
that is where this is. We know this is. We can see Michael's house in the background, just in case you're confused.
Yes.
She is playing tennis on that tennis court.
Okay, so this is the bit where Michael discovers that Amanda is shacked up with a bit of stuff. On the left-hand side, you'll see 3 photographs. Now, Dan and I talked briefly about these last week, but you'll see the first one on the left-hand side is a repeat of the one we just talked about between the A and the Z on the shelf behind Michael when he's drinking his whiskey and watching his Vinewood action flicks. The middle one looks like Michael and Amanda. It looks like as well there's kids either side of them, but there's definitely one to the left there.
Yeah, I think there are two extra people in that shot.
So that would suggest to me that it's Michael and Amanda a few years ago when the kids were much smaller. And then, of course, lastly, there's Michael and Amanda on their wedding, what looks like their wedding day, or at least a very sort of prim and proper occasion. Dan and I talked last week about how much Michael looked like Claude from GTA 3 there, whether that's just a nice little touch from Rockstar or whether that's just us reading too much into it, I don't know. But yeah, it's either way, it's kind of interesting to point out.
And in fact, Tim, it's not in these notes, but I've just seen she's got a TV just above those pictures, a flat screen TV.
She has.
I guess she can watch that from her bed, but another place where you can see things on the TV, I imagine.
Yeah. Next frame is a guy leaping out of the window in his Didier Sachs pants. We know that Didier Sachs is one of the GTA world's most premium clothing brands. And this guy we there's been quite a lot of speculation about who exactly he is. But we talked last week about how in the original Rush casting call, which we refer to quite a lot in this show, which was the casting call that Rockstar put out for actors for GTA 5, but under the sort of disguised title of Rush. They talked about casting a guy called Chad, 29, pretty boy, misogynist, Beverly Hills party boy, made money but not as cool as he thinks he is.
This guy pretty much fits that description, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's the right age. Leopard skin, leopard print pants suggests he's not as cool as he thinks he is. So yeah, he's about the right age. The big question really is not that; it is later on whether he's the guy that Michael slaps down in the restaurant. We'll talk about that in a second.
Now this is the blink and you miss it Franklin shot.
Yeah.
In Michael's trailer. Interestingly, this is not the same scene as the one before.
Right.
Because you can see there's different things in the background, and he wouldn't be able to walk out that way because there's a ledge.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I thought you meant it was a completely different scene.
Well,
I thought it was like another occasion when he walked in on his wife banging another guy.
No, I mean, yeah, I guess maybe Franklin was downstairs when he caught him, and now they're going out the front door.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, you can see that he's and that white vest that he's wearing there, he also wears in his own trailer. So keep a lookout for that later on. Here's Michael in that Sentinel convertible we were talking about earlier, and you remember we talked about how his number plate changed. It was, I can't remember what it was before.
It was a random string of letters.
It was a
and
random
numbers.
string of letters and numbers, and now it reads Crystal with a 4 in them, 4 instead of an 8. The relevance of Crystal, not sure at the moment. Dan sort of joked when we were prepping this show last week that it might be reference to Michael getting involved in crystal meth. But I think if you were getting involved in crystal meth, you probably wouldn't advertise it on the front of your vehicle.
It wouldn't be the best idea.
So yeah, why? I think why he's changed it, we can only speculate on. But I think what we can be more certain of is that this is later on in the game from when he pulls up into his house, because it makes sense that you would change your number plate this way round rather than the other way round, I would think.
Yeah, he started to get his fancy stuff and live his lifestyle again. So.
Exactly, yeah. So that makes much more sense. Lovely shot of the city here. You can pick out all different landmarks here. You know, you can see downtown there. You can see a couple of bridges. I'm only going to pull out one thing here because I think it's quite an interesting thing. On the sort of centre left of the shot, right in the background, you can see there's another bridge, not the one that's like looks a bit like the Golden Gate Bridge, but that other one that's sort of like a semicircle. Now that is a bridge very, very close to where the level mission that we saw called Blitzplay sort of unravelled. We didn't see the bridge right up until the sort of end of Blitzplay, but that bridge in real life LA is down by the docks. So when I said to Rockstar after we'd seen Blitzplay, is this level set in and around the docks, they said that it wasn't. So maybe they've changed it around a little bit. I don't know, but I do know that in real life LA that bridge is close to the docks, so that's why I assumed it. But anyway, Blitzplay takes place sort of down towards that area.
I think in some screenshots we've got coming up, you can just about see that bridge. I think I've managed to pause it.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
I think. I'm going to say that now.
Okay, yeah.
Hopefully we get there.
But at the same time, I really want the other stuff too.
This is Blitzplay in action. This is the mission that Dan and I saw up at Rockstar a couple of weeks ago. First thing to note, tiny thing, on the tyres it says Atomic. That's the name of the tyre brand. Take note of that because at the beginning of Franklin's trailer there's a nice little tie-up with that. But this is the truck that we did also use in our demo. It's cool. It's got you'll see it better in this next shot. But it says Casey's Highway Clearance. Originally, when James and I were talking about this mission, I thought that the truck was actually different to the one we had. But actually, when I went back to my notes, I saw that it was actually the same truck. So
And that's the same security van as well, the same company.
Yeah, Group X. So this is it's all the same. This is Blitz play in action. However, there are a few slight inconsistencies, as we'll see as we go on. Okay, so here's the Group X, or I'm just going to call it Group 6 because I'm a bit,
Come on.
Yeah. Group 6 trailer being tipped over by Casey's highway clearance truck. Franklin is the one driving the Casey's highway clearance truck, or at least he was in the demo that we saw. Just out of shot on the right will be the Little Pricks, or is it Butt Lovers truck?
It's actually in shot. You can see it.
Oh, you can. Yes, you can see it. Sorry, I thought that was a wall.
Yeah, it's there for a split second, but you can't just
brilliant.
see it.
Okay, so that is Butt Lovers. That is the Butt Lovers truck, which Michael takes from where him, Franklin, and Trevor sort of dream up this heist. Mm-hmm. And he drives it down there. He pulls it across the road there and blocks the road for the Group 6 van not to be able to get through. And that's when Franklin pops out of that alleyway and smashes into the side of the Group 6 trailer, knocking it over. You can see that the Group 6 van is made by Brute. You can see that on the front there. You're getting a better look at now at the Casey's highway clearance truck, which Franklin is driving. Check out the wall destruction physics, James.
I know. And is that a water tower in the background?
Yeah, that'll be the same water tower that we've glimpsed in other screenshots. You remember when Michael, Franklin and Trevor are standing around a helicopter, and it's kind of in the background. That'll be exactly the same. So it's giving you a kind of sense of geography here. Okay, so this is Michael placing some plastic explosive on the back of the Group 6 truck. James?
Yeah, when we were going through this, we noticed you should take note of the number plates in these next few screenshots. This one obviously ends 694, and as we go through them, I think we can go through them now.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
You can see that this one is 676 as the truck blows up.
Yeah.
And see, there's that bridge.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it is the bridge. Yeah, yeah. That's why I think it's down by the docks. I'm not disputing that Rockstar know their city, but it's just I do know, from real life LA that it's down by the docks. That's why I sort of thought.
Okay, and then finally, in this shot, the number plate has changed again to 558.
Now, why would that happen, James?
Well, it could be for a few reasons. These could be from different, maybe not so much missions, but sort of different security trucks that you can go and take money from. Or maybe more realistically, that when Rockstar made this trailer, they replayed the same scene a few times and the number plate from the truck just changed.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to read into it other than it's just one of those little quirks. It's an anomaly. I don't think it's anything more than that, because this is Blitz play in action. This is the mission we saw. Mm-hmm. And I doubt very much whether there'll be a series of missions that play out in exactly the same way as this. So I think it's safe to assume that the number plate thing is just a little quirk that's happened as they've gone in and taken screenshots. One other thing, James, I just wanted to mention was the weapon that I think is that Franklin or is that Michael? Michael is holding there. It looks like it's got a scope attached to it, and it looks like it's had some sort of adjustments to the barrel, maybe even to the magazine cartridges as well.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's been customised in some way.
And that shows off the game's customization options a little bit, I think, because you can add scopes, you can add silencers, you can change the kind of style and capacity of your magazines, all that sort of stuff.
And you're plainly addicted to chaos.
Well, I'm not sure that's true, Doc.
Okay, so moving on to a shot of Michael punching a man. We know that this is... going back to the Rush casting call, we know that they called out for a 40s to 50s Armenian car dealer called Harriet Vartinyanen.
I'm glad you said that.
Vartinyan? I don't know. Anyway, he's Armenian. And Dan and I speculated last week that this is the same guy. This is the Armenian sort of car dealer that Franklin works for. Mm-hmm. And in the final game, he's called Simeon Yatarian, which is much easier to pronounce. And why we speculated that is because he looks about the right age, but also he's in a in a car
car dealership. Yeah, you can see there's some advertising boards in the background on the right there for like the new car that's coming in. There's cars in the showroom, obviously. So yeah, that's a good spot.
Okay, there's a couple of things in here that we can't actually see on this still screenshot we've got here, but you should be able to see when you're watching the trailer, and James has done his magic. You can see the badge for a Vapid car dealership in the background there. Now, I'm willing to be corrected on this next one, but I think on the sign above the freeway it says Los Puerta Freeway, which would make sense because even though Rockstar apparently have got their Spanish a bit off with this one, because it should be Los Puertas, because that's the masculine plural for the ports.
Oh wow! Okay.
Which would tie up, because we've obviously seen screenshots in and around the ports. We know there's a port area, and we know that it would make sense that a freeway would head down that way. I'm willing to be corrected. It was really difficult to see whether that was what it said, but it certainly looked like that. And then James, just as a fun little aside, there's a floppy yellow balloon man.
Yeah, one of those ones you get at like some football matches and like American football matches and outside car dealerships when they're flopping around trying to sell you their cars.
Yeah. Michael, loving the chaos. Now, this is the guy we were talking about earlier. Is this the guy, James, do you think, that jumped out over the flower basket from Amanda's bedroom?
It could be, you know. Now you've mentioned it.
It looks a bit like him.
It looks similar, yeah.
And the stupid ankle bracelet he's wearing would suggest that he thinks he's sort of... What was the Rush casting called? Thinks he's better than he is, or thinks he's cooler than he is. I don't know, and it would make sense that Michael is having a go at him as well. I'm not quite sure who the woman on the right there is, but anyway, we can see that there's Amanda and Jimmy just there watching the husband and father respectively beat up a guy. James, is that a laptop there, or is that a tray?
Well, originally I did think it was a laptop, but then having looked at it and seeing that they're in what looks to be some kind of outdoor coffee drinking area, that things would come on trays, then I'm going to suggest that it's probably more likely to be a tray, because as you quite rightly point out, if it is a laptop, it is massive.
It's the world's biggest laptop. And who maybe in Los Santos they just have their laptops really big. Who knows? But I think it's a tray he's beating him down with. And then finally, James, there's just Michael Sentinel. You can see just on the left-hand side there, parked up with the hood down. He doesn't worry about double yellow lines.
Nah, they've come down as a family, obviously. Big family outing to beat up a guy.
That's right, yeah. Michael drinking right-handed, James.
Now, see... Now this... I mean, it probably doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything, I'm sure. But
this shot, for the purposes of making a trailer, could have been like flipped, and you could have like made it because it looks nicer, it's framed better. So, you know, let's just move on.
Yeah, we just thought we'd point it out. Okay, Michael at the golf club, Los Santos Golf Club. We not much to say here other than he's at hole 5, as you can see, and he's about to drive a ball right across that lake, hopefully. And
you can see in the trailer, actually, I think we've paused it just as he's hit the ball, but the ball and the little tee, they go flying off in different directions.
Yeah.
Just another bit of extra physics.
We also know, of course, that there'll be a fully playable golf course in Los Santos, so and this will be it. Well, this is the one he's on. This is him enjoying his golf a little less.
His shot went very well, did it?
No, I mean he's still on hole 5 and he's smashing it. I thought it looked like a pretty good shot, but obviously he's deeply disappointed in how it's gone. Just a couple of small things here. On the sign you can see it says par 4, 435 yards, which suggests that this golf course is going to be the real deal. It's not going to be like mini golf. You are going to have like proper holes, proper size. I don't know whether you'll get a choice of clubs or what, but it looks like they've gone to town on it. And then James, just up on the top of the hill there is Los Santos Observatory. That's what it's called in the game. In real life we know it's Griffith Observatory. So yeah.
Michael again in this shot is not very pleased. He's gone all chaos again.
Yeah.
He's smashing up a TV which is in a different location. I don't know if this is in his house. Are we assuming this is in his house?
I don't know, because it does look a bit like a house, but there's that sign just at the top there that says BBQ Spice.
Yeah. But one of those things. Yeah, so okay.
I don't know why you'd have a sign for BBQ in your house.
No.
But on the left-hand side, it does very much look like a house. So I'm going to go with the house because it looks like the back of a PC there and some magazines and stuff. What's it an advert for? Well, we can't say for sure, but it could either be for Up and Atom Burger or Burger Shot. We do know that in previous GTAs, Burger Shot had their renowned Heartstopper burger. And this looks like a step up from that. I think Heartstopper had something like 6 patties or something. So it could be a new take on the Heartstopper, maybe.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll only find out when we're watching that in-game TV.
I'm rich. I'm miserable. I'm pretty average for this town.
Okay, this is the guys robbing a jewelry store. There are a couple of things here to say. One is that the name of the store is Vangelico, and that will be sort of relevant in a second when we talk about their sort of choice of uniform here. James, do you want us to talk about the security guy?
Yeah, the security guy on the right here looks to have some kind of earpiece in. So we're thinking he's probably going to be security staff, and we don't know if you're going to have to be able to work out how to deal with him if you go in and sort of chat to him first, or you just go in and take him out, or maybe you can like pay him off in the final game. Obviously, this mission we haven't seen in action, so we don't know. But moving on to your point about them wearing suits and different masks in this one,
Yeah.
this is the same jewelry store that we've seen in the other trailer 1, was it?
Yeah, I think it is, because although in trailer 1 it didn't have this sort of pattern on the door and didn't have Vangelico written on the glass, you can see in this one it's got like a V on the door, like a V, like the door handles make a sort of V sign. And if you go back and watch trailer 1, where the 3 guys in the Bugstar uniforms led by Michael kick in the door of the jewelry store, it's also got a V on it as well. So I think it is the same store. Now the question that raises is, why are they in Bugstar's uniforms in that first trailer and now they're wearing suits and masks in this one? And I think the answer is simply that you can customize your own missions. Even these, well, I don't know whether this is a major heist or a smaller heist. It looks to me like a smaller heist only because you can only see 3 guys. I don't know. I'm guessing here, but
Although, having said that, I'm going to interject.
Okay.
There is a shot further on, I think it's in Franklin's trailer, when they're driving away in Bugstar's uniforms, and there is more than 3 people wearing those uniforms in a shot from his trailer.
Yeah, that's I mean, you could be right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, what it might mean is that this is one stage of one of the major heists, because we know that the major heists will play out in a series of stages, and maybe this is the first stage of that. Remember, you can customize your heists however you kind of want to. Really, you can have your guys dress up how you want them. You can put them in whatever masks you want. You can give them whatever weapons you want. You have to secure your own vehicles to take you there and to get you away. You have to dispose of those vehicles. So there's loads of different facets to these heists, and it could be that this is one stage of the big bug, a Bugstar's sort of mission, or it could be that this is just someone whoever's taken the footage has just played it a different way. Okay, what sort of backs up James's theory about it maybe being all part of the same mission or being one big mission is that on the back of the wall there you can see it's written 4A, and that suggests that there's perhaps more than one vault.
Yeah.
Perhaps there's more than one vault to get money out of, and perhaps that requires more than one team. That would certainly play into the stuff we see in Franklin's trailer, which definitely includes one person who isn't Michael, Trevor or Franklin who's part of the team. So yeah, maybe it is. This is all part of one massive mission that involves a Bugstars uniform, that involves going into different saves. I don't know because we haven't seen it, but that would be my take. Okay, James, they're up in the air in helicopters.
Yeah, this is from the mission that, well, we're assuming the mission that Game Informant saw when you go into the FIB building and take that guy. Now, this is the bit when they're in the helicopter. I'm assuming after getting the guy, now they're flying away. Because in the background there, that looks very much like the FIB building that we can see.
It does. If you look at the screenshots of the FIB building, they've got that kind of telltale shape on their roof, which is sort of like a sort of squashed square. So I think that does look like the FIB building, yeah. And actually, in the next, or is it in this screen? Actually, it might be in this sequence we just had. Yeah, you can see Michael has got like sort of rappelling gear kind of dangling down from his clothes, which suggests that he's already done that bit we've seen in the screenshots where he sort of scales the FIB building and smashes in through the window.
Yeah, and if you look, Trevor is piloting the helicopter. Michael's obviously doing the shooting, and that you never get to see that guy's face, but I'm assuming it's Franklin as they do the mission together.
Yeah, I'm going to throw something out here now, James. I'm not sure it is Franklin.
Right.
I think it might be, because if we move the footage on, I think it might be the guy that Michael grabs from the FIB building. Because take a look at what this guy's wearing, okay? He's wearing a white shirt, yeah? Now, if you go back in the trailer to where Trevor's in the helicopter, there's a guy in a white shirt next to him.
Right.
I think they've grabbed this bloke. He's the one in the helicopter next to well, he's not next to Trevor, or is he?
I think he's in the back.
He's in the back, and Trevor's piloting the helicopter. And I think it's Michael. Well, it's definitely Michael trying to take out the pursuing helicopters. That would be my theory.
And that makes a lot of sense that he's in the back with Michael, as they would have run up to the helicopter, bundled him in, taken off, and left Franklin to get away of his own accord, having sniped from the other building.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll just quickly run through the FIB. So he smashes in through the window here. He grabs the guy. In the next frame, you can see that he's holding a gun to his head. I definitely think that's the guy that is in the helicopter. Yep. In the background, behind the guy holding the gun towards Michael, you can see the FIB logo. It's that telltale eagle kind of logo. And there's just a sort of glimpse of a woman on the right here, who I think in the Game Informer piece they talk about a woman kind of questioning the dude that Michael's come for. So I'm assuming that that's the lady in question.
Yeah, and there's also in the screen before when we saw him smashing through the window to capture him, there were two guys pointing guns at him. It looks like they've disappeared in this shot, but actually is just on the very left-hand side. You can see the man's face.
Right, yeah.
So he'll be the one with the other weapon there as well.
So, nipping forward to what looks like some sort of party. I don't know who's behind the sniper sights here. We don't know who the target is. He looks like a guy that's fairly young, to be honest. It looks like he's smoking something. Probably one of them funny cigarettes, James.
I guess so. But it looks like some kind of sort of young, hip party.
Yeah. I sort of joked with James off air that it might be Michael taking ultimate revenge against people trying to pass pot off to his daughter, but I think that's probably unlikely. It's certainly a harsh way of dealing with that guy. So we can't really say who this guy is, but he certainly gets it big style. Okay, cut into the last scene that plays out on the airport runway. We can see that the big plane is a Hurler, which is a new brand for the GTA series. I don't think it's been in any of the other GTA games. Certainly I couldn't find any evidence of it.
Right, yeah, and we've got two police cars here with a red car just to the underneath the plane at the moment, but you'll see as that plane lands, it ends up behind it.
Yeah. The car that's being driven here is a Dubucci GT. And yeah, it looks a bit like a sort of Nissan-y. It's got a sort of Nissan kind of feel to it. And yeah, that's it. Sort of plays out from there. The car spins around.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that you can see there are 2 police cars that are flipped up, getting pushed back by the aeroplane's engines.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
That's why they flip out. And
right, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much the Michael trailer.
Okay, so that was Michael's trailer. Hope you enjoyed our analysis on it. Don't forget that tomorrow at 5 o'clock, that's Thursday, we'll be back with the second part of this show, which is an analysis of Franklin's trailer, where we'll be picking that apart in a similar fashion. Do tune in tomorrow. We'll see you then.